Who should go first? Shall I go first? Shall you go first?
Hello and welcome back to my channel.
Hello and welcome back to actually my channel. Everybody, today's guest is my roommate and best friend, Aryiel. Aryiel. I know you guys are all probably wondering,
Why am I married to this queer?
yeah, why am I married to another queer?
Breathe, settle, focus, energy, go!
You're probably wondering how we met. We're in each other's Instagram stories every single day, performing numbers like Frozen,
Let it go, let it go, let it go!
leaping around the apartment in underwear. I mean, you're probably wondering.
Well, we met actually because I was dating somebody at the time who lived with Finn, who happened to be a bisexual man at the time and eventually into a relationship, came out as a transgender woman. We would have these nights where my partner would go and like play like computer games and then we'd be like, let's have a wine night, let's eat and make dinner. And we would just like sit up talking all night, drinking wine, and we ended up talking so much about sexuality. At the time I identified as bisexual and this one identified as straight. We just had a lot of really awesome conversations about sexuality and about gender expression, and Finn asked me so many questions.
And you were actually one of the first people that I told when I finally broke down the layers and came to terms with my sexuality. So lucky her. I mean, lucky. We are married and we have a little cat called Weenie, aka Theo, aka Pusette.
Oh.
Becky
Yeah.
and Peter
Special.
special.
I was born in Vancouver, BC, so I'm from here, and my mom is Filipino. She's from the Philippines. My dad is second or third generation Canadian, like Ukrainian, Scottish, and my mom was raised Catholic. And so my family has pretty liberal views, like in general, about like spirituality, which is super awesome. Like we're super communicative as a family, talking about stuff like that. I wouldn't say that they've ever expressed to me that they have anything like against sexual, like I the first time my dad actually asked me, we were standing in the kitchen and he's like, so are you bisexual or something? And I was like, why the hell? In my head, I'm like, why on earth were you asking? I think I was 19 at the time, and I think he'd seen photos of me on my laptop of me kissing another girl, and I'm like, oh, that's awkward. But he he was like, well, I don't care. I just, kind of wondering, like, just had no idea. I would say that I was shamed for my sexuality when I was younger, because I just came into my sexuality at a very young age. Catholic mom was like, dirty girl kind of thing. Like rumors spread around me in high school, and I was slut-shamed in high school over things that never happened, and then all this things got around that like I was fucking everybody in this school even though I wasn't. And so at a young age I internalized a lot of shame about my body, about my sexuality, because I've always been a very like embodied person, and like naturally my expression is very sensual, even though I wasn't overtly like sexual. I've always been very sensual, and I think people, especially at a younger age, just mistook that for sexuality.
Yeah. The kids that bullied you in high school / your mom with the shame and stuff. How old were you, first of all?
Well, I was pretty young. I actually, in elementary school, towards the latter end, my parents caught me watching like porn, and like I had a bit of a porn addiction at the time. Yeah. And I was like 9, and I was like just really young and really curious and exploring myself. 100%. And those conversations with my dad were so uncomfortable, and then they told like my elementary school teacher, and she never looked at me the same.
How did you discover porn at that young of an age?
I think my parents had like one of those like Joy of Sex books, and me and my sister found it one day. We're like, wow! What is this? And then we're like, let's go like look it up, and then like kind of like just discovered it together actually.
Yeah.
And then
my
felt
mom, the feelings that come with it when you see it.
Yeah. And I went through puberty really young. I got my period really young, and so my body was going through all these changes, and I didn't have anywhere to learn about any of it. So I went online to learn about it. Which is sucks.
Tell me more, tell me more.
Baby, will you watch porn?
Wow!
That is how I discovered.
Your mom and dad discovered you watching porn. This is where you started to like learn about your sexuality and stuff. Now, what did your mom and dad do? Like, what were the repercussions that came with it? What did they?
It was more
And how did you
uncomfortable than anything. Like, my parents tried to ask me if I was masturbating, and I denied it. I was like, no, I don't know what that is.
11, yeah.
But I was. My mom took me to my family doctor, this ancient white man, and she was like, she's sick, what's wrong with her? And like, he was like, well, you know, it's like pretty normal. It's more normal for guys than for girls. I like wanted to send me to counseling, and then, as I said, told my elementary school teacher. I don't know how that was supposed to help. I guess it was just on the table, like, we need to look out because in case she's like,
where in case she's in the bathroom at school?
Honestly, I don't really know, but it just was uncomfortable, and then just made me go.
Yeah.
And then I guess when I started exploring my sexuality, I remember when my mom found out that I was dating my boyfriend at the time, like my first boyfriend when I was 16, she found out we were having sex, and she like slapped me clean across the face, and like he like went running out of my house in his boxers, and she was screaming and like hitting me, and it was really traumatizing. My parents called his mom came over, and at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was sitting around talking about, and then they like banned me from seeing him. It was really intense.
Wow.
But they were like, no sex!
I think that's so hard as like your first sexual experience, or experimenting and trying to understand everything as an adult, and you are getting shamed or some sort of trauma like that. That must be so hard.
It's not pretty. And like, I love my mom to death, and she does the best with the tools that she has and how she grew up. Like, she would say, I don't even want to repeat the things that she said to me, because they were so like at the core of like a human being who wants to feel healthy and expressive in their sexuality. When your mother says these kinds of things to you, it just like makes you feel ugly from the inside out. And I just felt sick. I felt like something was wrong with me. Like, and it took me many years to recover and reclaim my own sexuality. Some of that journey was healthy, some of it wasn't.
Yeah. Like a doodle. When you were in high school, did you get any severe bullying or adversity from other kids in school?
Yeah, I don't know why per se. I think it was largely, honestly, because I was younger and I had a new school in like grade 11, and I was in the Smart Kids program. I was in IB, but I was like pretty and new, and so all the guys like wanted to date me or wanted to be with me, and then all the girls hated me. I was 14 and like obviously wanted to fit in, and I was like insecure, and I was vain, and like throughout my life, I've been so rewarded verbally and emotionally for being attractive and for being beautiful. And so I came to understand that it was really important for people to perceive me as pretty.
What the heck is that? Some chimes.
I just came to understand that me being attractive is really, really important. Yeah. And like, people valued me if I was attractive. Mm-hmm. And so I guess that bred a lot of vanity and a lot of insecurity.
Did you get teased for being a person of color?
You know, I actually don't know that I did. Like in high school, I've had some moments in my life that were kind of like poignant. I was really, really young. Mm-hmm. And I went to a pool party with my sister. I was one of the only colored kids or colored girls, and most of the girls were white. The popular girl was white. Mm-hmm. Everyone wanted to be her friend. I wanted to be her friend. And I remember being in the pool or the hot tub or something with me, my sister, and this girl. And my dad is white, so half of my family, like that whole side is white, and my second cousins are white. And I remember saying to this girl, I'm like, oh, like, you remind me so much of my cousin. And she looked at me, and she looked me up and down, and she looked at my legs. She's like, and then looked at her friend. She was like, I could never be the cousin of a non-shaver, because we were like 7 or something. It was the first time in my life where I was like, oh my God, like, I need to cover my legs. One day I got so self-conscious about the hair on my legs that I took my jacket off and walked around covering my legs the whole day with my jacket, because I was like, my hair is so dark.
It's crazy how like words can just impact you, I mean, whatever age you are.
Yeah. And in this weird way, like, I don't know if you've talked yet on the channel about exotification, but because I'm ethnic but attractive, something happens called exotification, where white kind of like perceiving and exotifying Asian culture in a very specific lens of like a certain way of behavior and a certain way of looking, and so I guess it's always been a double-edged sword for me, because I'm biracial, I think I've evaded a lot of racism because I kind of skip both lines, but it's always been kind of uncomfortable for me because anyone who's Filipino who I've ever met will say things to me like, oh my God, like, you're so beautiful, like, you're half white. And even my mom would always praise the more white parts of me. If my hair, she's like, I liked your hair when it was lighter. Like, I don't want your skin to get too dark. And like little things like little microaggressions that just made me just from a very deep level, oh, the white part of me is better.
Yeah.
The white part of me is safer. Like, it's a white part of me that is like keeping me safe is like low-key how I've always kind of felt. And I don't feel connected to white people because everyone's like, oh, you're obviously Asian. Because I look like an ethnic minority. And I don't connect with any Filipino culture because I don't speak Tagalog. My mom, like, I don't know if it was intentional, but she really made an effort to raise me and my sister as super Western, super Canadian, North American, super Canadian, and I've always taken a lot of pride in that. But the older that I've gotten, the more that I've recognized, like, she was trying to protect me from poverty, which she grew up in. But also,
you must feel a huge disconnect to the Filipino culture too.
It's really uncomfortable because Filipino people will like look at me and be like, oh, you're Filipino, want to connect with me, and I feel so uncomfortable. Like, I don't know I don't know anything about this culture. I don't know anything about the food. I don't know anything about the language. Like, I feel like an outsider. What are you? What are you? What are you?
Who are you? When did you come to terms with your sexuality? Or when did you start experimenting, and how did you start experimenting with sexuality?
You know, it's kind of funny because I didn't realize until early university, like 19, 20. I started dating this boyfriend at 16 and we dated for 4 years. And over the course of that time, I was developing crushes on women. Like, I remember I had this huge crush on this girl in my a cappella choir. I was having dreams about her, and I remember telling her, and I was just like, and I made out with her at this party, and somebody took a photo, which apparently my dad saw and then asked me about.
Are you bisexual?
Are you bisexual? Yeah, and he was mad, and I was like, and you're young, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna be with this person forever. So I was like, I think that, like, I need to find a way to explore my sexuality, and I just think I'm attracted to women. And he's like, well, if you get to make out with other women, so do I. And I was like, I don't really know if that's how that works. And then we broke up not long after that. But
he's like, I want a piece of that prize too.
Yeah,
she's like,
totally.
no.
I'm like, and I guess it's a hard one because a lot of people are in that situation, and a lot of guys, I think it's not as culturally sanctioned to explore with other men, whereas with women it's almost like encouraged among women. And so I found in universities when I started experimenting, and once I finally internalized in my body, we broke up. I was like, I'm like, something about women. I'm into it. I'm attracted to it. When I would go to bars and clubs and I would like dress kind of boyish, you know,
Tomboy.
and then kind of tomboyish. I started like embodying that because in my head I'm like, well, in order to be, because at the time I only understood like the male and female dichotomy of like relationships, and so I was like, well, if I want to be with a girl, I have to be boyish, a very heterosexual understanding. And so I'd go to the clubs, and like girls started buying me drinks. I was like, woo, something is working.
And it happens still to this day. You actually get quite a bit of drinks.
Every once in a while I'll accidentally swipe up somebody. Was that you? Why were you into a chick?
You actually, yes, you did. It was when I came out as bisexual. We were in a club, and I was like, I chatted up this gorgeous, gorgeous girl, and I was buying her drinks, and then this one just came in. I think I came and introduced you to her, and it was game over for me, hand over for you. Oh, okay, well, I'm gonna stand over here by myself now.
Yeah, I guess that was the time that I started really seeking it, but then retroactively looking back, I was like, wait a second. My first kiss was a girl. My first makeup was a girl. The first time that I got wet was with a girl. Like I was like, and kids experiment a lot. That's super normal. That's something I want to impress upon people. Young people experiment sexually, and like nobody really knows what's going on, but we don't have to. We can talk about it. Like we don't have to pretend like we didn't all do these weird things as children. Like we don't want to tell. Anyway.
Yeah, it should be normalized.
Yeah, it should be normalized, right? And so I'm just gonna say, so me and my sister and a couple of girlfriends, we had this like downstairs basement, and the four of us went down, and it was this crawl space, and we're like, let's practice making out. And so we practiced making out, and I was making out with my friend. We both went to the bathroom, and we were both like, oh, I peed myself a little bit. But really, we were like, had gotten like aroused from kissing each other, and I just didn't know at the time. And then I remember one time in high school, I had this good girlfriend, and we got really drunk one night, and we hooked up. But then we didn't talk for like 3 months because both of us were so nervous that the other wished that it hadn't happened. And then like a year or two later, we both expressed like no, like that I was cool with that. Like if you were cool with it, I wasn't going to be weird. So I had so many experiences growing up. And like even with like the porn, I was watching a lot of like porn. Like for me, a lot of stuff with men and women, but a lot of stuff with women and women.
When you were watching heterosexual porn, were you looking at one gender more than the other? Do you notice that?
I probably look at the women more. I probably still look at the women more.
Okay.
And even now, I can see a picture on a magazine and like flip through Instagram and like a woman's body has the ability to like turn me on, and I'm like, it's just not quite the same with me for men's bodies. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because I associate my own arousal with the female body because my body just happens to be female. Like I don't know what it is. But the women are just so like supple and sensual and soft, and something about the female form I find just very sensual in a very aesthetic way.
Watch out, women, she's coming. Did you have a first relationship?
All my serious romantic partners have always been men. And I don't know why that is. It's always happened more naturally for me and more organically. The older I got, I'm like, could I be in a long-term relationship with a woman? And I'm like, I think so. I just don't know if I haven't met the right woman. Like there's a few women in my life who like I have such a special, deeper connection with. And it is intimate as well. And I've met some across the course of my life, but it's never progressed to something more, and I'm not sure why. Also, I tend to really like feminine men, like all my ex-partners except for the first one. Anyways, all my ex-partners have been very feminine, and my ex, the one that we met through, actually came out as a transgender woman, and so there's been like an underlying theme there where like
just feminine energy.
I'm attracted to feminine energy, and so eventually, after exploring some bisexuality, what I thought was bisexuality, and it was kind of a little bit, I felt uncomfortable, like I didn't know what I was doing. Lesbians made me so nervous because I was like,
I remember that.
Yeah, because I was like, I don't know how to interact with them. Because I don't feel like I'm the same. I feel like as a bisexual woman, you're kind of like getting like from like all other sexual orientations. Like lesbian girls like don't want to date you because this idea that like you're just gonna run off with a guy, and then with men, what I hated going to clubs is like I would be dancing with a girl, and then guys around us would like, I just would be like, oh, make out, and like create that performative sexuality, which ground my gears. Like I absolutely hated it because it's not what I was there for. And so I feel like but there's a lot of that in media, and so I feel like women get a hard rap, and like by men maybe even harder just because it's just less socially accepted. And so I really have never really liked or identified with the label bisexual because something about it just seemed, even the word bisexual, it refers to, and like I'm not attracted to two different genders. I'm actually super attracted to gender non-binary people. I find them so interesting as people, and so like I feel like people who have the courage and have had to explore and really learn about themselves where they exist in this spectrum, and then have the bravery to like be forward about it. I'm really attracted to people's minds and to people's personalities. Like that's why I identify as pansexual, because pansexual people are attracted to just people, to pan. No, to people, to like
ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, and it's not so much about the bodies, it's about what's inside the body and the energy and your spirit and like who you are, and like you could say that I'm sapiosexual. Like I could be physically attracted to a person, but unless like they get me up here, and like nothing in my body is like wants any part of it. I just like people, and like and the older I've gotten now, I've really come full circle to like I think I have 2-ish types. If I had to say, I like 3. I like women. I like feminine women, and I like masculine women, but I like feminine women more, and I like men that are more feminine as well. And it's like masculine men that I'm just like.
So did you get all of that? Because this is our Instagram. So pansexuality. Let's talk about that. Let's break that down and what that means to you. Can we just take a moment and take in what we just heard? Woo! In part 2, Aryiel talks to us about discovering pansexuality and her journey of figuring that out. She also talks to us about experimenting with polyamorous relationships. So you don't want to miss what's coming up next. Buckle your seatbelts. Always remember to leave some love. Ciao for now.